Hello and welcome to TNM's Poll Watch. The Karnataka elections are getting interesting by the day, and if there is one particular community that both the Congress and the BJP are trying to woo, it's the Lingayats. We have been hearing about allegations that both parties are trading against each other. So, to understand what exactly is the Congress and the BJP trying to do as far as the Lingayat community is concerned, I have with me the editorial head of the News Minute, Pooja Prasanna. Pooja, what exactly is the BJP trying to do as far as the Lingayat community? Because the Congress keeps on saying that the BJP has insulted the Lingayats. So what exactly is the dynamics now between the BJP and the Lingayats, which is considered to be their traditional vote bank?
Just to understand this, we'll have to go back a little bit in history. Lingayats have been at the center stage of Karnataka politics for many, many decades now. That's not new. They were initially with the Congress, and it is said that after the unceremonious dismissal of Virendra Patil as the Chief Minister of Karnataka by Rajiv Gandhi, they switched sides. They did not have a leader. Then they were behind J.H. Patel, who was with the JDS at that point of time. After he stepped down, they were looking for a leader, and Yediyurappa presented them with that opportunity. So over the last, let's say 20-25 years, they've consolidated behind Yediyurappa, who's been a 4-time chief minister, and slowly that got transferred on to the BJP as well. So essentially the Lingayats have been with whichever party has been in power or potentially can be in power. But if you see the last 5 years or so, we've seen that Yediyurappa is now in the last leg of his political career. He's already said that he will not fight another election. So they need another leader, another face to rally around. Meanwhile, Congress is seeing this as a golden opportunity to try and break away that consolidation of Lingayats. Because even if they manage to take one part of the Lingayat vote bank away from the BJP, that could be a huge dent for them here in Karnataka. And also if you see, never has BJP come to power on its own in the state. They've always fallen short.
Have not got
Absolutely.
Majority.
They've always fallen short. So now if you manage to further take away the Lingayat vote bank from the BJP, that means that you can limit the BJP for less than even 100 seats.
Okay.
Right? That's what the Congress is trying to do. It is now or never, because if you give them another 5 years, they could find another leader in the BJP. It could be Yediyurappa's son Vijayendra. It could be other leaders in the party, but with Shettar and Lakshman Savdi coming out of the party, the Congress senses an opportunity to push this narrative that the BJP has been insulting the Lingayats. How much it will work, we'll have to see.
Okay, when Yediyurappa was forced to resign, I'm using this word forced to resign because we saw him crying and he was in tears when he did that. And now Shettar leaving the party, and then Savdi leaving the party. All this will this create a dent as far as the Lingayat community is concerned?
It could create a dent, but like I said, we have to keep in mind that if the Lingayats feel that that BJP will come to power irrespective, then they will back the BJP. Let's keep in mind that JP Nadda, who was in Shigao when the Chief Minister Bommai was filing his nomination, from there his next stop was Hubli. Also, we have to keep in mind the role of the mathas, right? While we think that, the community rallies around individual leaders, the mathas hold a great deal of power in the community. Right from education to ensuring that the community gets representation politically, they get reservation, they get jobs, the mathas have played a role. So now if the mathas back BJP, the community will stay with BJP. If they break away, then we could see a fragmentation of the community.
So Yediyurappa was almost sidelined, and he was forced to resign. But once again, he has been brought back. And do you think that this will play a major role, bringing back Yediyurappa into the election scene? And we haven't seen much of Yediyurappa's campaign. What is the reason?
So Yediyurappa has been on the grassroots. He has also been campaigning for his son in Shikaripura. He wants to make sure that the political succession is smooth. But that said, the reason Yediyurappa was made to step down, irrespective of him coming and saying that it was voluntary after a point, the fact is that he wanted to continue in power. But the BJP feels that he's difficult, he's a double-edged sword for them because, he's faced corruption allegations. So every time they say that we are fighting a war against corruption, then Yediyurappa's example is cited. Also the fact that he's a leader in his own merit, right? He was the Chief Minister of Karnataka, the first southern state where BJP came to power, much before Modi and Shah became a power within the BJP. So controlling Yediyurappa is very difficult for the High Command. So what we're seeing right now, what we're witnessing in Karnataka is a transition. BJP is currently in transition where all leaders, if I may go as far as calling them troublemakers, Shabbir, are being asked to step down. It could be Yediyurappa, it could be Yediyurappa, and that is what was done with people like Lakshman Saudi and Shettar. They want leaders who can be controlled directly by the High Command. They do not want caste leaders like Yediyurappa, but they still want the support of the community. So that is what the BJP is trying. If they manage to sideline tall leaders of the community and still end up winning an election, that means that the party has transcended caste leaders and Hindutva and Modi Shah's leadership has been accepted in Karnataka.
Okay, and also when it comes to issues like halal, hijab, Yediyurappa spoke against it. In your interview, in fact, he said these are all issues that are unnecessarily rigged up. Bommai is also saying the same thing. So does that mean that whatever the BJP was trying to do, polarizing the electorate, it hasn't worked, or are they disowning their own campaign?
Well, it's one thing for the Chief Minister to now come and say that those are not election issues. But if you look at his tenure from when he took over, one after the other, we've seen Hindutva projects. So, it is a bit hypocritical on his part to now come say that these are all media creations, these were never issues. It could be government policies, it could be laws that were amended under him, or it could be the statements of the leaders. We have Nalin Kumar Katil, who is the party president, just a few months ago, telling his karyakartas that no, don't talk about roads, those are small issues, let's talk about love jihad, clearly indicating where the party's priorities are. Now, they are unsure how Karnataka will receive Hindutva. Like I said, they've never managed to use Hindutva as a poll plank and come back to power, which is why Yediyurappa, who's seen as a moderate leader, he came from RSS background, but he was not a hardliner like others we've seen. So it was up to him. He was a caste leader. He was not a communal leader. That is the distinction we're trying to make. And he led from the forefront and he said, these are not issues. Again, the question is, did he tell his government at that point of time? Did he say, these are not issues we should be talking about? We don't know that, right? So the BJP is now almost trying to put that on a side after polarizing the state for almost a year and a half and now trying to focus on development. But on the minds of their voters, we've been speaking to people on the ground. They cannot detach what happened. Communalism is now rooted in their politics in Karnataka.
And also in this election, like what I have observed so far is the BJP seems to be on a back foot.
Yeah.
Do you also think so? And
Absolutely.
what are the reasons why?
Well, they're completely cornered. There's no two ways about it. And, if it was left to the state unit of BJP, we don't know if this would have been such a close election even. Because, from corruption allegations, we've never seen a chief minister who's been so cornered from all sides. And many of their own supporters, because the Contractor Association went on record to say that they were voters of the BJP. They've been voting again and again for the BJP, but they cannot afford the corruption. They say that in the past it was about 3 to 5% or 10% at best. Now it's 40 to 50%. Also, some of the mathas have gone on to say that if they need grants from the government, they have to pay 30% of bribe for that. Private schools have been making these allegations. There is corruption in the recruitment of police personnel. So on one side, there are very, very grave allegations of corruption. On the other side, it seems as though the chief minister lost control over even his communal projects. It's almost like the right-wing groups had taken over. They were dictating to him that this is what your next move should be. And right on cue, he would go and implement that as a state policy. So he is definitely a weak chief minister who lost control of his government, of what was happening in the state. So in that sense, they don't have much to offer to the electorate. The biggest card for them, I would say at this point of time, is Prime Minister Modi.
And the reason why Bommai lost control is because he was directly controlled by the High Command, or like what exactly was happening?
Bommai was never a mass leader to start off with. He was a consensus candidate when Yediyurappa was asked to step down. He is a Lingayat. He belongs to the Banajiga community, subsect of the Lingayats. And so it was a compromise to not offend the Lingayats, but at the same time not bring in somebody who will overshadow Yediyurappa and his son Vijayendra, who Yediyurappa wants to make his successor. So in that sense, he is somebody who will toe the High Command's line, because beyond winning his own constituency of Shigaon, he does not have much of a mass appeal. So in that sense, he was not a threat to anybody. In fact, we had reported how many of his own cabinet colleagues had not taken him seriously. They thought he was a stopgap chief minister. So, they brought in a weak CM with a purpose. Now, it could very well backfire on them.
Okay, you were mentioning something about a generational change that the BJP is trying to do. They want to, do away with the caste arithmetic, and they want to build the party on its own, or at least, have that, drive that BJP appeal in the state. Do you think will this work in this election, or is just something that they are trying to test?
We've spoken a lot about Lingayats and Vokkaligas, the two dominant communities, but there's a lot of social engineering that the BJP is doing behind the screen very, very carefully. Way before even the election was announced, let's say 7 to 8 months ago, they had formed several, caste-based groups, caste-based morchas, and they had appointed leaders, and Vijayendra is a key part of that experiment, where they are talking to SCs, STs, OBCs. They have even tried to make inroads in places that Congress had not reached at that point of time. So they are shedding this image that BJP is a party of upper caste and just Brahmins and Lingayats. So they are reaching out to communities that have traditionally been ignored politically and trying to give them representation as well. So that is something that the BJP is trying. So it is not limited to just Hindutva and Lingayats, but they're overall changing the very political fabric of Karnataka.
And is that working on ground, or how do you see it?
There are takers. There are, the overtures that they've been making, we have seen some positive results so far. But, we cannot assume that the large crowds that we see in these samaveshas, will translate into votes. That is something that we will have to see going forward. But we'll know. But BJP always plays the long game, right, Shabbir? We've seen this in several states. Even in Tamil Nadu, they are playing the long game. So if not in this election, they are trying to create an electorate that could very well, give them results 5 years or 10 years down the line.
Also, you said something which is very interesting, that now it's up to Modi. We are all looking up to Modi, because he is the only person who can change this entire scenario that the BJP is in right now. Do you think the anti-incumbency factor is deep-rooted and people are really expecting a change, or like can Modi do some magic and he can turn around things for
in
the
Karnataka,
BJP?
I would say Modi can do magic, because he is still the star campaigner, the biggest face in the state. Because Yediyurappa is a mass leader, but the BJP does not want to rely too much on him. Because if they do, then he will also, extract his pound of flesh. He will want something in return. And what he wants in return is for his son to get very plumb position in the government. And, that will be perpetuating the dynasty politics that the BJP speaks against so often. But that said, Modi has an appeal in Bangalore, which has 28 constituencies. The urban population thinks that Modi can create jobs, he can change the scenario in pockets like Tumkuru, in pockets like coastal Karnataka, even in places like Belagavi, where Lingayats are in large number. Modi magic, Modi appeal does hold. So yes, it is primarily on his name, his achievements. And if you see the speeches of the leaders, right, including Bommai, while he is talking about his own government's achievements, they always plug in and say that, double engine sarkar.
That's the narrative that BJP has been pushing in other parts of the country as well, double engine sarkar.
Yeah.
So here the double engine will work, or will that campaign work? And that's something that the BJP High Command wants to push.
Yes, interestingly, the Congress has taken that term, double engine sarkara, spun it around against BJP. saying that you keep saying double engine sarkara, but they're both taking us in two different directions. And irrespective of BJP coming to power, in terms of GST output, in terms of getting a fund for the floods or drought, Karnataka is not getting its due. So the state leaders, because if you see 2019 elections, the state gave 25, parliamentarians, and they did not manage to bring schemes to the state. So the Congress has spun that narrative against the BJP. We'll have to see. I mean, we cannot assume that it'll work, but what I see different this time around is both parties are being very aggressive. It is very difficult to predict who will do well. And it is probably the closest election we've seen in a long, long time.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pooja. And Pooja will be traveling across the state to bring interviews and ground reports. My other colleagues are also doing the same. And do follow the News Minute, and we will update. We will have every update on the Karnataka elections. Thank you so much for watching, and do support independent journalism.